There's a church in the valley by the wildwood, no lovelier spot in the gale. No place is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood.
When the churches got together to decide what to do, Dr. F.L. Conrad was president of the Synod. We didn't have bishops then. And we had a meeting at Mee Camp at a church up there. And so the people there decided to go together. But Mount Pleasant, Old Mount Pleasant, and Mount Zion was the ones that met. And they decided at that meeting to go together and to move to a different location. Not to build a church back, in either location. And everyone agreed to it at the time. From there, of course, a committee was formed and a site was chosen, and then later a name and so on for the church. They met in Mount Pleasant because it was a larger building, larger church building than the others, so that's where we held services. And we had a meeting there and to choose a name, and several names was suggested, and my mother suggested Bethany, and so it was brought to a vote and Bethany won. So from that time forward it's been Bethany.
As a little brown church in the vale, no spot is so dear to my childhood.
I remember I was 4 years old, and of evening after work, Daddy'd come over here and bring rocks and help people build a foundation for the basement. And I was too little to go work any, but I'd stay out around the truck, and Danny'd come by, and me and Danny, we'd run around and play and hope the boogers didn't get us.
Yeah, and I remember going with Dad, pushing a wheelbar up a board that went up to the top of the wall, and I got fussed at because I wasn't supposed to be hanging with Pop. And he carried me down off the board, and then I had to go play with Forrest.
Okay, the Synod had a architect, Mr. Wagner, and he came up and helped. And he would want to know if you knew what penny nail to use, and he didn't believe anybody knew what size nail they had, and you'd have to show him what nails you had, ready to use up there before he let you start nailing.
Except for the concrete block and the brick, it was all volunteer. They paid somebody to do that, but other than that, everything was done with volunteer labor.
And you can imagine a crew like that just going in to work, and it was a lot of fun. And I know there was one boy who was afraid of heights. Mr. Wagner put him up on the scaffold where it was real high, and he was holding on for dear life and trying to nail a little bit too.
But they worked many nights after work, didn't they?
Yeah.
To
Just
get this
about every
building
night.
built. About every night. That was something that had to be done, was finishing the church.
Turned out real well, considering that much volunteer labor to do it.
And people from all the three churches, all were here working on this building. Best I remember, we were ordered to stay pretty close to the vehicle.
Yeah.
We'll know all about it farther along.
We met at the church building out here at Mount Pleasant, and George Shuford was pastor at the time, and we believe Dr. Conrad was there also. But we met there and we started the service there, and then we moved to the new church to continue the service.
some glad morning.
The first memory of organist was Lucille Moritz, and I can remember seeing her sitting there.
Lucille played the organ mighty nice, low and not too loud.
She was the organist there for long, long years.
But Bethany bought a new organ when they moved into the church or shortly thereafter, and it had a blower in the basement. It had basically an air compressor, and it forced air up through into the organ. And I can remember one instance where Lucille was playing.
She was playing for the opening of Sunday school.
Well, she was playing and just played right along until she got done with her song, and then she got up. Said there was a snake in the organ.
And a snake crawled up through that pipe and came out in the organ.
And she kept playing.
Oh, she was brave.
And I remember Phyllis Moritz being part of she used to be one of our organists, pianist, and Joyce Reagan at one time. She used to help with the music as well. I also remember Pastor Goodman's wife, Grace Goodman, as being one of the organists over the years.
I can remember Wade and Earl singing for specials occasionally.
When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away.
The choir, Earl was always a very faithful member of the choir. Yeah. They had a really active choir.
And my mom and dad always enjoyed the choir, always.
We formed a children's choir. That was after Phyllis moved back up here because they helped, and we, I guess you and I did the choir for a long time, didn't we? So we'd sing maybe once a month.
Hear my cry, hear my call.
And I remember Forrest and I were acolytes. I remember that. Got in a lot of trouble doing that.
Yeah.
Forrest reached around one time and flipped me on the back of the ear. And I let out a yell, and wasn't good because my dad heard me yell. And I reached around Forrest's head to return the flip, and Dad had me by the arm. He took me out behind that cussed bush that was next to the door and wore me out, and then took me back in, and I had to sit there crying, and this one made fun of me. I never tried to flip his ear again either. So.
Well, the early days at Bethany, I remember certainly our summer Bible schools, always at night, and seems like we always had a large crowd there, that we would have probably Kool-Aid and cookies after Bible school, and then we would chase fireflies out after Bible school was over.
Take my hand, precious Lord.
The Luther League was very, very strong. There were a lot of kids that age, and we had a very strong organization. Did a lot of things together.
And Luther League was a huge part of growing up at Bethany. I can remember the anticipation of turning 12 till you could go to Luther League. That was just one of the most important things there was. And we were very active, did a lot. We, at one time, moved the cemeteries.
We mowed the cemeteries.
Oh, that was a big part of it all the time.
And our kids mowed the cemetery.
And we mowed the cemeteries. I remember that.
They got paid for that.
I don't remember us getting paid for it. We got yelled at a lot.
They paid the money to the Luther League, and that's what we used to go on our summer trips.
Oh, we got to go on summer trips.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd usually take a trip to like Hungry Mother Park or somewhere like that.
Yeah, that's right, we did. No, and then Forrest and I took over after the league quit. Yeah, and we would hook, we both had a bicycle, and we would hook the mowers, push mowers, behind the bicycles and ride them from the church here over to our house, and from the church here up to Weinberger Cemetery. We were dead by the time we got into the cemeteries. We couldn't mow and mow all day, didn't we? Couldn't do that now. I don't believe I could ride a bicycle from here to meet you.
Oh, we can try. And we always had the ball game with old folks. And you remember how they couldn't run?
Yeah.
Now we know how they couldn't run.
Now we feel their pain, don't we?
Lloyd was our faithful leader of the league. He was there with us for years.
Lloyd was everywhere we went, and Preacher Goodman was always there. Lloyd
was always there. That 61 Chevrolet, I think it's 61 Chevrolet. Yeah. And bless his heart, he was slower than smoke driving, but
unless we got behind, and then he'd catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, he would get worried if we didn't catch up, especially if we were going somewhere that he wasn't used to being.
Yeah, I remember we got behind him riding with Lloyd one time. He got to Black Mountain, and we could see the other half of the crowd going at the other end of town when we come in. And Lloyd went 60 miles an hour through town on Sunday morning about 10 o'clock. All he could think about was catching us, and he called him.
Yeah, and we were hanging out the car in every window, yelling and screaming because Lord was driving fast. Lord played ball with us. He did the bowling with us. You know, we had the bowling league. So, yeah, bless his heart. I miss Lord.
And he had lots of parties, lots of Halloween and Christmas and all kinds of parties.
I guess just some of the confirmation memories. My group was the group that I believe we were the first ones with Pastor Fitzsimmons going through confirmation. And you know, Pastor Fitzsimmons was creative, so we'd have to do all these thinking activities. I remember the boys just hated it, and then we girls, I think, were flirting with Pastor Fitz a little bit, and we tried to outdo each other. And oh, he liked the Beatles. Remember the Beatles phase? So we all, me and Shannon Norris, I hate to tell on you, Shannon, but we'd go to the public library and check out Beatles books and see if we could get some more knowledge about the 60s. We did some sleepovers at the parsonage, and we'd sleep in that basement. And I remember we repainted the basement that was one of the projects we did. Remember Bradley Moritz was big. So see, then there's all the bigger kids like Bradley and Michelle and Darren, and I'm not mentioning everybody there but Tim and Tom. And we all took paint downstairs and painted over, and then the stained glass that's in the sanctuary, the big stained glass, we painted that in the basement, and that was pretty fun because we thought we were leaving our mark. Oh, here's just some things that we did every year. We did the haunted house. That was awesome because remember we made it scary. We had to stick your hand through and feel the grapes and the spaghetti, and I think we had trash bags up so it was all dark, and and see, this is where the boys got to do their thing, and they would scare the little kids. And what that had to do with the church, I'm not entirely sure. But we were bonding. That's what it was. We were bonding. On progressive dinners, I remember walking all over the place just to get a salad. But it was fun because in between you had fellowship, and then when you got there, you had prayer, and that was really nice.
Now, I remember, I think it's that William Smith, when he was there, he would always come and get us to take us to me and my brothers, to the catechetical classes. Catechism, I guess, just called it back then. And then I know, Pastor Goodman and his wife, now we was partial to him. Now, he's the one that married me and J.C. back in 1969.
Pastor Goodman married us. Pastor Goodman confirmed me. He came along kind of towards the end of confirmation. John Walter Moritz actually was one of my teachers in confirmation because we were without a pastor for a while.
And I know Mom and Dad, they was always seemed to be fond of Mark Fitzsimmons. I seemed like he took a thrill over Daddy when he was sick all the time, and he was always there for us. And so, yeah, every time we'd have Daddy'd end up at the hospital, he would always end up being there.
Yeah, Mark's always a memorable pastor.
Was it Fitzsimmons that said he couldn't tell when to leave?
Well, yeah, he was going to visit, and he'd get ready to leave. Well, I better go. And then it's a common phrase here, you know, back then at least, oh, just stay a while. He said he'd set me out to stay a while.
He was wanting to go, but he didn't know how.
Didn't know how to get going.
Amazing grace.
Yes, it seemed like we had gatherings, and of course we had to have food. So
It's all of our good cookouts we get to have.
Yeah.
Ice cream, especially.
The ice cream socials, yeah.
We always like those. Those are good.
The chili meals and stuff, yeah, it's like those.
Chili cook-off.
Yeah, chili cook-offs and stuff. Pancake suppers and stuff. Yeah, I remember them. We had those when we had the buckwheat pancakes. That's what my mom and dad always looked forward to, was that buckwheat pancakes with the gravy, homemade gravy on it.
Well, growing up Weinberger was growing up having fresh cornmeal and buckwheat flour and whole wheat flour and the whole 9 yards. And it also meant having a tradition of buckwheat pancakes. I think it's a tribute to my dad and my grandpa to be able to carry on the buckwheat pancake tradition.
Our women's group was real active back earlier too. Some of the things the women did, they delivered fruit baskets at Thanksgiving and visited shut-ins.
Well, at one time we had a very active women's group and an active men's group.
It primarily was a horseshoe pitching contest on Sunday nights, and we did some projects and so on.
You know, I respected, you know, those older guys, you know, for not only doing the fun things at church. They was always there when work was to be done at the church. You know, George and always roll his sleeves up and get with it.
Before we had official ushers and greeters, Dad just pretty much, he was there every Sunday morning to give out bulletins, and he always gave out lots of chewing gum over the years. He would always have his, usually had on a sport coat or a suit coat, and he always had gum in his pocket. And I think a lot of kids, he was kind of like Kent is with the dum-dums now. Dad was the giver of gum.
Beulah land, I'm longing for you, and someday on me I'll stand. There my home shall be eternal. Beulah land, sweet Beulah land. God be with you till we meet again.
yeah, I've been there all my life.
It's been a ride. Been a long time too, hasn't it?
It just a great place to raise kids in that church.
Well, I just hope our young people that are coming up will, a lot of them, stay with the church and keep it going. It's important.
Hopefully, the next generation will stand on our shoulders just as we stood on the shoulders of the generation before us, and make it a place where people feel welcome and can be their church home.
I guess that my hope for Bethany's future is that everybody continues to work together and to continue to be a family?
Yeah, it just didn't happen by accident. So, if they keep it going.
Quite a history.
I would wish for those that attend the homecoming that they could get the value that we got out of it years, just a little bit of the value that we got out of it years ago.
Lots of good memories. Lots of good stuff.
The bottom line is good times and good friends and good memories, and I'm starting to cry now because I do miss it. And thank you.
Happy homecoming. Happy homecoming. Happy homecoming.
Happy 60th.
My destiny way before you. God be with you till we